Hey everyone, it's Rhino, and I'm here today because I want to talk to you about Disneyland. So I came across this article on the Diz this morning by contributor Zoe Wood titled Wrapping Up Your Disney Vacation, How Do You End Your Time in the Parks? And that article is going to be kind of our jumping off point, but we're not talking about just the end of our Disney trips. We're talking about the whole thing, and I want to do it about Disneyland. So, and I keep saying we, and that's because I have two very special ladies to join me in this discussion. We have Jackie Gailey.
Hi, everybody.
Denny Sunderly.
Hey there.
Those are the two ladies. The reason why I thought it would be kind of fun for us to talk about Disneyland is because we all live here in Florida now, right? Walt Disney World has kind of become our home base park. And for us, it's become, I feel like, a little more like just going to a regular park. Like we're just going out, running down the street, you know, hopping into a theme park as one does. Disneyland is more of that one we have to plan the trip to. So it's a little more special because we kind of just can't go there whenever we want to go there, and especially right now while it's closed, we can't go there at all. I've had my first moment where I was actually sad. At the time of recording this, I would have already been to Disneyland twice this year. Reading through Zoe's article, and I'll talk about that more in a second, I started to feel like bummed out because I was thinking about some of the stuff she was saying that you do on a last day, and I was thinking about that last day, and I was just like, my heart's a little sad right now, a little sad heart. So the last time I was there was Halloween time last September. Denny, when was the last time you were out at Disneyland?
So the last time and the only time that I have been to Disneyland was, we were there for 8 nights, 9 days, 9 nights, however that worked out. But this week, actually 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So at this time, like I've got memories popping up on social and like, I'm looking at my pictures on my phone going, yes, this very week, it was for our 25th anniversary.
Oh my gosh, and that was the first time you'd ever been out there.
Yep.
Wow.
And it was the best.
Oh my gosh. Now, Jackie, your home park, technically, you always call it Disneyland, right? Because you're a West Coast lady.
Yes, sir. So we always used to go to Disneyland. That was our jam. So one time we even drove there. It was a 19-hour drive from Seattle where we lived, but it was fun. One time we took the train down. So lot of fun.
My first trip out there was 2015. Okay, and I've been fortunate enough to have been out there probably, it's probably like 20 times since then. Trips I've done myself. They're, going out for work, probably going 2 times at least a year for work. But then one year there was like a social media event. There was another event. It was like one thing after another. And I think I went like 5 times one year, maybe
Wow.
6. I'd have to recount because I went to see on my own. Like for personal, I went to go see the holiday stuff because that was the only season I still hadn't been out there really for was Christmas, and so I was like, I'm gonna go out here. But we all love it.
I was there for the D23 Expo. Was the last time I was there when we were all at the D23 Expo.
That was the 2017 one, right?
The 2017 one, yes.
Okay,
yep.
Okay. So 3 years for you, 2 years for Denny. And I think by the end of this, we're all just going to go together.
Yes,
I
please.
think we should.
Yeah, I think that's a plan.
So, Denny, you were out there, though, and Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout was already open, right?
Yes,
okay.
It was. Oh, how I love it. I wrote it 9 times.
Oh, my goodness. You're like me. You're like crazy. Like, I'm like, I got to get it in the day and then give it a little bit of time and then go midday and then my evening ride.
I wanted to hit all the different possibilities, the different tracks. So
So you haven't 2 years ago. Gosh, the timeline in my head is all messed up. Like the Pixar Pier stuff wouldn't have been opened yet, right?
It was.
Okay, that was that 2 year.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we had Incredicoaster going on. We had Anger's hot dog stand, the whole 9 yards, Bing Bong's sweets, and
I like Bing Bong.
Yeah. Oh, he's so cute. Yeah, he's got a great little candy shop, that's for sure. But we were actually there for Pixar Fest which
okay,
was a
cool.
lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. The first thing in the article that Zoe mentions, and we're just, like I said, just using this article as a jumping off point. So if you want to check it out, it's at wdwinfo.com, or I'll include a link of that in the description of this video, because her article is really focused on the end of the trip. And this is a little bit like, I want to talk about everything. So the first thing that Zoe does mention, though, is that she's written about arriving rituals and those sort of things that get everyone into that motion of the Disney vacation. And I am curious about what is the first thing you do when you get to Disneyland? So I know, Denny, you've only been once. Jackie, you've been a bunch. I've been a bunch. But I want to know, like, you drop in your bags at the hotel. What do you do first? Jackie, tell me.
Okay, so we used to, as fast as we could, yes, drop our bags at the hotel, and we would scoot right on over to the monorail, where we would hop on it right at the end of downtown Disney, and we would go right into Tomorrowland immediately when we got there. So not wasting any time walking through the downtown Disney district, going right into the park the instant we got there. Was like, that was just the way it had to be. And so,
did you guys stay on property a lot, or were you like, where is
Always.
it just like, we'll stay where? Oh, really? Okay. So what's your preferred resort there?
The Disneyland Hotel. That's the one we always stayed at. I've never even stepped foot in the Paradise Pier or the Grand Californian. Not one foot. I've never even seen the insides of either of those.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe you haven't been inside of the Grand Californian, because that resort is beautiful. And I will argue with anybody, the Grand Californian is the best resort at Disneyland. I don't care. I like that everyone likes the Disneyland Hotel, and that's fine and dandy, and it's a nice hotel. And Paradise Pier is really is nice too. I'd stay anywhere. I don't care. Like I said, since I go for work a lot, it's a lot of, I stay at the different good neighbor hotels and things like that. I've stayed at the Hilton down the street a million times. And like, really the hotel for me is not a big part of the journey, because I am like I said, the drop the bags and go person. And I'm probably in the park most of the day. So as long as it's like, I don't have to walk 5 miles to get back to my resort, I'm okay. But Denny, where did you stay when you went out?
We stayed at the Disneyland Hotel. So, and it was magnificent. This trip was a long time coming. We have been Disney fans for a very, very long time. And we've always said, we'll get there someday. We'll get there someday. And then the planets just began to align, and we were able to plan the whole thing out. And like I said, stay for 9 days. So we were going to have plenty of time to be able to do the things that we've been waiting for years and years to do. So we went and checked in at the Disneyland Hotel, and just to pull onto property. Like, I have a picture of the Disneyland Hotel as we pulled into the driveway. Like, my husband and I could not believe we were actually there. The whole time. Like, I can't believe we did it.
Because you take that like turn in, and you see there's like that big sign, and then the hotel is like looming in the background. It is really cool out there.
The very best.
Amazing. Our room wasn't ready right then, so we dropped our bags at Bell Services, and they said they would send us a notification when it was ready. And we kind of looked at each other and said, well, let's go.
Yeah.
So we walked on out and through downtown Disney, and before we knew it, we were on the Esplanade, and we just stood there, just looking like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There it is.
There are both parks at the same time.
right there, which is, for someone who is so steeped in Disney World, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
To go, okay, they're literally neighbors right here. So we got in through the gates and just stood there in front of the train station for a while. I have a little video of the train pulling into the station, and we just stood there in awe. And then we went to guest relations, just to because we wanted to see all the nooks and crannies. We were actually standing there, and we asked a question of a guest relations cast member, and she was amazing. And after a couple of questions and a little back and forth, and she heard that we were from Central Florida and at Walt Disney World a ton, she said, hang on just a second. And she went back and she checked with what we then found out was her supervisor. And she looked at us and said, do you have a few minutes? And we said, absolutely. She said, I want to show you some things. Ooh. She came out from around the counter and took us on what amounted to be an hour-long personal tour.
Oh, wow.
Of the first part of Main Street. She showed us.
Oh, wow.
It was unreal.
I'm dying. I have the chills right now. Oh my gosh.
Jackie, like I could cry over this whole thing.
Like I feel like I'm about to.
Amazing it was. She walked us down. She showed us the nail that's still in the concrete that fell as the team members were really trying to finish up right before opening. They left one of the finishing nails in the concrete.
I don't think I've actually seen that.
I'll show you.
Cool.
Right
Yeah, please.
Me too, because I did not see that.
It's amazing. And then she showed us Walt's deciding wall, where the two different brick patterns, where they were trying to decide what to do on Main Street. And he said, I need to see it physically in front of me. And so they did the wavy brick pattern on half the wall, and then the straight brick pattern. And she said, so right about where you're standing is where we like to think Walt stood when he was trying to make his decision. And we went, oh my God. What? So that's how our Disneyland trip began, and it couldn't have been more magical.
I can't stress this enough. I know we say it a lot, but there is definitely a different air that you immediately feel when you are at Disneyland. It is right away, and it's not just the lack of humidity. It is like
right.
Although that helps.
Yes. Oh God, it does. Like
yeah.
So
there's magic in the air there.
It's a little more. It's a different type of experience. You're getting a similar product, but it's just there's a nuance to it that doesn't quite exist in that other place, and sometimes difficult to put on words, and we try our best. And I am no wordsmith, as we've just learned for the last 3 minutes as I stumbled through that description. But okay, you're on the airplane right now, Denny. You're on your way back. You're alone. Okay, we're all alone. Yes, we love to share it for each other, but for selfish reasons right now, we are each individually by ourselves, right? Okay. We are checked into whatever resort, irrelevant what resort we're going to. Where are you going first, and what are you doing? Denny, what are you doing?
Good heavens. All right. I have two things, and it really depends on the mood I'm in at the time. But if I'm in the mood for adventure, I am hitting the Esplanade, and I am turning into Disney California Adventure, and I'm writing Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, because that is my very, very favorite. If I'm in a nostalgic mood, I'll turn it into Disneyland Park. I'll head straight to Jolly Holiday. I'll order a grilled cheese and tomato bisque, and I will sit outside savoring it on Main Street at the Hub.
Gosh, I love Jolly Holiday. Jackie?
Where
are you headed, Jackie?
No matter what kind of mood I'm in, this is what has to happen. So I go to the monorail and grab it and head over to Tomorrowland. And then I just walk through all the way over to New Orleans Square. And I just soak in everything. And I usually walk through Fantasyland, because I live for Fantasyland. The little door on the Mad Hatter little shop, I have to see that. And I love to see the Storybook canal boats. Yeah. And I have to walk through there and meander through. It's a small world, but my goal is to get right over to New Orleans Square as fast as I can and get in the line for Pirates of the Caribbean, because that attraction makes me swoon at Disneyland. I just love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it doesn't matter the mood or whatever I'm doing. I am going into Disneyland, and I am getting that mint julep. Technically, like the official drink of Disneyland, I think. And I have that association with it where I know it's this fixture. It's got the mint julep window back in the back of New Orleans Square. And it is just one of those things where once I'm sipping it, it's kind of like it all is coming together. When you're walking through and going into the park, it's like the background music is going, and I see the castle, and then I'm familiar with the park now, and I know where I'm going to turn and go and bob and weave through people. And then once I have that, it's just like it creates that olfactory sense where it all is like, I'm here. And then
all is right with the world.
And then I go meet Denny at Guardians of the Galaxy.
There you go.
That was not part of the plan.
So I want to know. Sorry, I'm going to go back to my notes here so I don't get off track. So I said, what are some things that you want to do? They don't even have to be must do's. Just like, what are you doing? I guess I'm kind of curious. I was thinking about it in terms of like things that I find that I'm doing all the time, that they aren't in that checklist where like, if I don't do this, I'm going to be so disappointed. I don't often actually do that sort of checklist for me. I mean, yeah, Mint Julep and Guardians are really like, I would be disappointed in myself. But I kind of like, so for me, I love like the lobster nachos, and I find that I'm always, I like to have that quiet moment where I'm just kind of out at Lamplight Lounge. I'm enjoying those lobster nachos with a friend and just having like a drink and enjoying it. There's a lot of these quiet moments that I find I really enjoy there. And for me, that's one of them. That's one that I feel like I'm always end up doing. But I also not necessarily like you have to do this or the trip is ruined. Although I do really think you need to get the lobster nachos in there. Denny, did you get lobster nachos when you were there?
I did not get lobster nachos.
Okay, we're adding it for the list for next time.
There was a huge line for Lamplight when we were there.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Huge, and I knew it was fantastic, but there was a wait, and we had other things, so it was okay. For me, we had our very first, so we got in later on in the day, went into Disneyland, did all that, woke up the next morning, and our first reservation was for Carnation Cafe for breakfast. Ooh. And just sitting there under those red and white umbrellas was, I'm all about history, and then Disney history, yes, even, that's just a wonderful extra layer, but to sit there knowing that was one of Walt's faves, and it was a wonderful breakfast, and it's a gorgeous California morning, and it just couldn't have gotten any better. And we snagged another reservation for later in the week to do it again, because we just loved Carnation Cafe so much. So that, to me, if I'm looking for a touchstone for a favorite place, something I got to do, it's Carnation Cafe.
Again, this might be repetitive for some people that are obsessed with watching these videos, but we haven't talked about Disneyland in so long that I'm just feeling so like, I need this. There is a very stark difference between the dining at Disneyland and the dining, especially when it comes to casual sort of dining. Yes, Walt Disney World has a lot more of those kind of signature dining experiences and things, but Disneyland, I feel like, whether it's quick service, sit down casual, or if you are making, going to one of the fancier places, it is, for me, Disney is all about storytelling. And for me, my story is within the food and the drinks. It's something like I said, there's the lobster nachos. It's something as simple as the cozy cone area, getting the mac and cheese cone or whatever. Usually if there's a special featured one, I'll get that. And there's always some sort of specialty featured something or other going on. So I have to check up Foodie's Guide to Walt Disney World, to Disneyland. And I am like, okay, this trip, I need to make sure I get this. And I have the checklist. So whenever I'm in that area, that's where I'm going for. And there are times where I'll be like, I have only eaten and drank all day, and I have done 2 things. And I will be like, but I feel great about it. I love it. Jackie, what about you? What are you doing? What are you at the park? What are you up to?
So some of the things that we always did was, the first thing was we always had lunch at the Blue Bayou. Mm-hmm. So that's something that is just, it feels like a must for us every time. And it just never gets old. So we would make the reservation for the middle of the day. and we would have, we would have our morning, and somebody, this was back in the day where one of the guys would grab everybody's park ticket and run all around the park and get fast passes.
Yeah.
So this was old school over here. So, we would do that, and then we would have lunch at the Blue Bayou, and then we would go on and finish the rest of our day. And then they used to do the Fantasmic dessert party, and so we would do that also one of the nights that we were there, because it was so well worth the cost for all of us to do that. It was such an experience. And something I'll never forget is one of the years that we did that, there were people standing in front of us. We were like in the front row along the river, and there were people in front of us, and there was like a post right in the middle of us. So we had to kind of lean to the right to see the show. And a cast member happened to notice that this was going on, and we didn't say a word, but on our way out, she said to us, all of us, there were 8 of us. And she said, how long are you guys here for? And so we told her a few more nights, and she said, I want you guys to come back tomorrow night and see me at whatever time. And I'm going to have a place for you guys to enjoy the show tomorrow night where you don't have that post in front of you.
Wow.
Uh-oh.
And I just about fell over. We couldn't believe it. And so we got to enjoy it a second time. It was so amazing. And just everything they do there, and you don't even have to say a word, and of course everyone's mileage varies, but that dessert party became a must do for us.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we just loved it.
I mean, that Fantasmic is amazing. You got to see that, right, Denny?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And we ended up doing, they were doing a dinner package. So we went to Blue Bayou, and then I've got my Fantasmic.
I was going to say, did you get the seat?
I've got it right here. It's just out of shot here on the floor. But yeah, we've got the little seat cushion, and that was just, my goodness, it's so funny because I thought, well, how different can they really be? The Fantasmics here in Disneyland.
Oh, so different.
And then the ship came around the corner, and boom, the mind was blown.
I love the nighttime shows there. I said that one of my favorite things has become Incredicoaster at night. Okay. Because it was running, so it normally wouldn't run, I guess, during World of Color. But when it opened, when it made its debut, that was around that time where World of Color was being, renovated. What's the word I'm looking for?
So I haven't seen World of Color because it was down because they were retooling it.
And it is something that is definitely meant to be seen in person. I will say that, because I remember seeing like a clip or something of that and being like, okay, cool. But when you see it in person, you're like, oh, this is really cool. But I guess they weren't going to run the coaster during that. So they were saying, oh, well, it's not always going to run at night. But I think the best time to ride Incredicoaster is at night, because all those tunnels are all lit up. And if you've never ridden it, there is a scene where you're about to go into a tunnel where Jack Jack is on fire. And then the bottom half of the tunnel is Violet using her force field. But when you go during the day, you don't really see the lights of what they're doing in there as much. You see Jack and I keep calling her Twyla. Violet. I don't know what I'm doing. And Violet. But at night, the colors are just like you come in there and it's just so intense and it's so cool. And there's just something about hearing the Incredibles voice like behind me. And Incredibles is not even one of my favorite like Disney movies, but I just love Edna's voice when it starts and she's like, and the baby is gone. They're like, oh, Edna, you can watch the baby, right? And she's like, yeah, I'll watch the baby. And literally a second later, and she goes, and the baby is gone.
And the baby is gone.
I don't know why. I could just listen to that part on a loop over and over again. Like, I need a clean audio version of just her saying, and the baby is gone, because it's so, I love it. And the music is so cool. But at night, there is something to me about Disneyland Resort at night that is just, it takes on this whole other personality. The lighting there is just, it is literally like what it looks and feels like to be in a Disney commercial is what I feel like.
Yeah, I think you're right, Marno. I feel the same way. everywhere you look, everything is just so impeccably done. And it's so hard to describe it. But like Peter Pan's Flight is one of my all-time favorite attractions. And when you look up in the Disneyland version, it is dark. There's twinkling around with the lights from London. You don't see anything that you're not supposed to see.
Yeah.
So see, we have the opposite. I'm opposite from you guys because I was used to every little thing at Disneyland. And then when I came to Magic Kingdom, it was a completely different experience. And it wasn't more magical than Disneyland was for us. Well, I was like, wait.
That opening scene where you go in, Denny, did you get to ride Peter Pan's Flight?
Yes.
Yeah, that opening scene where you go in and it's all the stars and you can see like you're emerging, you know, you've gone second star to the right and now you're seeing Neverland kind of form on the ground. I didn't do Peter Pan's Flight for the first like 2 or 3 years that I went to Disneyland because I was just like, I don't care. I don't like the Disney World one, so I'm not going to like this one. But you're right. There is something so much, that one room alone with all the stars and the tiny Neverland. I love that so much.
Yes. With all of my entire heart, I love it.
Disneyland just seems to have, at night specifically, just has this painterly effect to it where it just is, everything is a soft focus. And it is this, like it's dripping with pixie dust, right?
Yeah.
And it just feels like that. And then DCA at night, there's just so much energy.
Yeah.
And I love Buena Vista Street at night and the fountain and Guardians and the lights on Pixar Pier. It's just so much fun, and it's so decidedly different than Disney World.
Well, and one of the great things is I love that transition that happens in Cars Land at night. If you stay around, they do the I forget the song. It's like is it a shoo-wop song or doo-wop song or something like that? I can't remember, but right at sunset it'll happen, and then you can watch all the neon signs like turn on, and it's just it's so cool. And Denny's right, that Guardians exterior at night is so fun to just watch. And if you're there during a celebration, there's a lot of times there'll be some really cool like lighting effects. Like if you're there during the Halloween season, I can't even tell you the Oogie Boogie Bash, like the Halloween party was amazing, but just Halloween out there in general, when they started doing Cars Land all decked out, and it's what I wish ours could be a little more here. It feels like it goes through the park a little more. It's got those little touches kind of everywhere, and it's just I love that. You can kind of get enveloped in it, you know? And it's just I love it so much.
It's pure magic.
Me too. Halloween times. Oh yeah, no. Halloween time is my next. That's the one.
Yeah,
I want to.
Yeah, I honestly like. I thought my trip. I loved my trip during Christmas and everything, and they don't do a Christmas party out there. Was great, like because they have a lot of really cool stuff going on. But Halloween was the first trip I took by myself to go out there. It was that first year I went in 2015. I was like, I have to come back here. And that October, like I was still a cast member, and I just got lucky, and so I got to go for like 3 days, and I used one of my comp tickets to get in because this is before I had the annual pass and stuff, and I loved it. I was like, I have to come here at Halloween doesn't feel complete unless I've gone to Disneyland now. And it's I think it's also because it gets like chilly at night sometimes, and it doesn't do that here during the Halloween season.
It's like, it's supposed to be chilly at night during the Halloween season.
For me, there's also something kind of special that happens in California every time I'm there. I feel like I've been very fortunate to have met some amazing people and made some amazing friends out there. And it's like every time I go, I kind of meet like a new person, and it's just these really cool people. And I think I just have this like, I love to be able to like sit and listen and hear about their lives and see like what it's like for them and what their experience of working for Disney, or sometimes, I mean, yeah, most of them are cast members because I meet them through like whatever we're doing with Disney or at the events at like D23 or something like that. And it's just, there's something so much more social about Disneyland. Like there's a lot more, and I think this has to do with the fact that so many people, it's not just that the people that work there that live there, but it's the people that are going there live there too. So it's a lot. It's, we've talked that there's a lot of that annual pass ownership that's there, but it does kind of create this environment where it feels like Cheers. Like you go in and it feels like you have an environment where you feel immediately like welcomed and like, this is my place. It's that feeling of that local bar that your local haunt, if you will, if you were a ghost of some sort,
Yes. Like back in the day when Steakhouse 55, before when it was Granville's, we met a server there on our first morning, our first breakfast, that lived pretty close, and she spent a lot of time at our table because it was our first visit to Disneyland. And she spent a lot of time with us, talking to us, telling us different things that we had no idea about. And to the point where we made a breakfast reservation every morning for the rest of our trip and had them put a note in to make sure that we were in her section. And we wanted to take her with us by like the end of our second breakfast with her, because it was back when they were opening the Monsters Inc. attraction, that she said, head over there if you guys are, because we were going to be in California Adventure that day. She said, head over to the Monsters Inc. attraction because we do what we call a soft opening here, she's telling us. And we had no idea about any of that, And so she said, just kind of mosey over there and see if you might happen to be able to ride that today, which we were able to. And it was just the coolest thing in the absolute whole entire world, because we felt like no one else knew that information.
Yeah.
That's a great example of how important it is to really interact with the cast members when you're in Disneyland. Just, of course, in Walt Disney World as well, but stop and take time to ask a question if you've got it, or to get to know that person, because they could add just an unbelievable layer that you never saw coming to your trip. Like we went to Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, and then came back through, and we were noticing the maquettes that are there for the Spirit of America, I think is what they're referred to. So they're the large statues in the American Adventure theater itself. The maquettes are just outside of Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, and we were and I said, oh my gosh, look, these are the mock-ups from Epcot. This because a huge Disney World person, I want to find any kind of tie-in that we might have in Disneyland with Disney World. And so I was so excited, and we got to talking to the cast member who was there. And she started to, make reference to Epcot. And we said, we know the cats are from Epcot. That's amazing. And before we knew it, we had this wonderful conversation filled with tons of just details with her. And she said, hang on just a second. And she goes to the phone, and she's talking to another cast member. And she comes back to us, and she said, I'd like to make a little magic for you if I could. And we both said, oh my gosh, okay, absolutely. She said, go ahead and head over to the Mark Twain. And we're gonna have you up in the pilot house.
Oh,
and
wow.
She had called over and talked to a fellow cast member, and we got to walk over to the Mark Twain, and one of the cast members knew about us, met us there, escorted us up to the pilot house. I got to blow the whistle of the Mark Twain.
Oh my goodness.
Unbelievable. We have pictures up there and video of being at the helm and the whole 9 yards. But we wouldn't have had that if we hadn't have stopped and really tried to engage that cast member. And we weren't looking for, like you said, we were not looking for anything. But we wanted to talk a little bit more about those maquettes that were there that tied in with something we were really familiar with in Epcot. And it just unfurled from there. But Rhino, when you started talking about, getting to know people and the cast members, it is like a shared experience. It's like everyone gets it.
Yeah.
At Disneyland is what it kind of felt like. Like
everyone.
they know the legacy, they know the history,
And
they know what they're, the importance of what they're doing.
Right. And everyone is a fan in a different way, but it's like what you said, it all kind of comes together because there's this like, you get it, and I think it's kind of crazy there because like everybody's got something Disney on one way or another. They're Disney bounding, or it's a t-shirt, or it's ears, or it's the, it's the social clubs, it's the whatever. And like, it's all, you can feel it,
it feels like family.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It feels like family there. I'm still dear friends with our server, and she actually lives here now. She lives in Orlando now,
that's so
and she
funny.
works at Walt Disney World. She opened Tiffin's.
That is so cool.
I mean, talk about friends, like lifetime friends. I don't see her. I don't talk to her anywhere near as often as I would like to, but I cherish the relationship, really.
Yeah, right.
It's family.
Well, okay, before we go, because I know we've been talking for a while, but I knew this would happen. So before we wrap up, tying it back down to Zoe's article, I just want to talk about, so it's your last day there. What are you going to do? So for me, I'll run through it so you can see. I'm usually on there's a mid-afternoon flight out. So the last day is usually, because I have fortunate enough to have the annual pass when I did, it will be like I can get into the park from like 9 to like 12. So or open to 12. I'm sorry. I'm just assuming it opens at 9. I don't know. So I have like that limited short day, but that might not be the same for everybody, especially like, if you go back. And when I go back, I won't have that pass anymore. I don't think so. I just want to know, what are you going to do on that very last day? Do you have a special thing that you know that you want to do before you go again? Like before you leave, I mean?
That's a hard one, because there's so many things that you want to do. And you can't, like we've talked about with Disney World, you can't do it all. But for me, it was getting to ride Mission Breakout as many times as I could, and I felt satisfied at that. And a little taste of Disneyland, and then we ended up having breakfast at Steakhouse 55 that last morning, because we had to go catch our flight, and they had a reservation available, and we had of course heard amazing things about the breakfast on the podcast, and it was a wonderful way to cap that adventure, because it was a beautiful breakfast and a beautiful place, and just savoring being at Disneyland Hotel just a minute longer was really a nice way to cap things off.
Okay, you both have spoken about breakfast, or maybe you just talked about breakfast a lot, Denny, but I need to tell you both, I don't really know where this would insert anywhere else. So I got to do Goofy's the Goofy's Kitchen at Disneyland Hotel on one of the trips, like I guess it was 2 years ago. Finally, so I've only done it once. I thought that was amazing. Like I loved it. I know it might not be for everybody, or it's like a character breakfast stuff, but it was so much fun. And there was a breakfast pizza, a peanut butter and jelly breakfast pizza that I still think about.
We'll have to add that.
Next trip, add it to the next trip. I'm just saying, I would recommend that for whatever. So, what about you, Jackie? What's your last day look like?
So our last day we always stayed at Disneyland Park until the park closed, always on our last night. And I always felt this sort of sadness come over me when we were watching the fireworks, because I knew that we weren't going to see it tomorrow night, and tomorrow night we're going to be in our own bed, and there's no fireworks and no parade at my house, and
I need a tissue. Hold on.
Yes. And I used to get so mad at myself when I did that, because I'm like, come on, Jackie, snap out of it. It's the last day of the trip. You got to soak this in. You got to enjoy it, And the last time that we were all there, so we watched the fireworks and we watched the Main Street Electrical Parade, and that was over at California Adventure, but it was no big deal to see both, because you just walked right across.
Yep.
No big. So we always did both of those. And then we would walk back to our back to the Disneyland Hotel instead of taking the monorail. We would always walk back our last night, always. And so I remember that was the first time I felt any inkling of having any sort of anxiety, because it was the first time I ever felt like, oh my gosh, I don't want to leave here. I don't want to go home. I want to move in. I can't go home. I can't go back to real life. It's not possible. I can't. Yeah. And so I had to sit down on that gorgeous flower tiled fountain that's still there.
I love that fountain.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And it just, every time I see a picture of that fountain, it reminds me of that first night where I didn't know what was coming over me. I couldn't figure out what was happening. And it took me a while to actually figure out what had actually happened. And it was that I was anxious. I was panicky because I didn't want to leave. This trip my parents paid for, and the kids were very young, and there was no way that kind of a trip was in our budget. And I didn't know when we would be able to do it again, or if we would be able to do it again. And so it was this crazy, wow, I don't want to leave. And I don't know if I'm ever going to be back. And oh my gosh, I can't go on. I have to just sit down at this fountain. And I parked it right there. And I don't even know how long we stayed there. It was a long time though.
I was going to say that's actually one of my favorite things on the last night. I find that every day, sometimes I'll be like, okay, I'm going to go out and have dinner somewhere, whatever. I always end up at the park until it closes. I don't care about being there when it opens, but I like to be there at the end. Like, I'll just be like, no, it's almost closed. I might as well just stay. Like, it's a weird, and there's something about when there's not a lot of people around, the sound of that fountain. I love to just listen to the water falling and just the sounds that people make as they're exiting the park and everything. Is I'll every now and then I'll just sit up at Main Street near the train station and just like listen and wait. And I like to really. It's a melancholy for me too. It's definitely like you said the same. You said that, Jackie, is that you get emotional, and I do too. And I always feel that last morning, I don't really have a specific thing I need to go do. I sometimes I'll go in. Sometimes I have one more mint julep. Sometimes it's a Disneyland corn dog. But I really just if I'm there early enough, it's definitely one more Guardians ride for sure. But other than that, I'll just kind of walk around. I just like to like walk and see it and listen and just take a couple minutes. And cause like we've said repeatedly throughout this video is that like, there's just something in the air that's different. It's something in for me, in my memory, I always hear that background music so much louder on the last day that it's just like, I like to find that spot and sit and enjoy the sounds of it all, and just press pause for a second. Know that like I'll stay up until like 5 a.m. packing the night before. I don't care. Just to be completely packed, but I will make sure that I get to go in that last day. And I also usually am there for work. So I'm panicking that I haven't videoed enough stuff. So I'm trying to like video it, but it's also like, it's that struggle of trying to capture that special thing. When you're videoing stuff, you're trying to tell a story, for me at least. And it's about, I sometimes struggle at Disneyland because it's like I never feel like I'm getting what I am seeing and feeling through that lens to get it to people out here. And I have made some videos that I do really love, and later I come back and go, that was pretty good, but that's what I feel, where I'm looking through the camera and I'm like, oh, I'm terrible. I'm never going to be able to say how great this place is. Like,
it's hard because you want to try to capture that magic, and it's difficult.
And sometimes you just have to be there.
Yeah.
That's a great point. It's about living in the moment and just making sure that you experience that moment. So, well, thank you for having this conversation, both of you. I know this was just a random text you got from me in the morning. I appreciate it.
Love it.
It was a good one. Thank you, Rhino. It was fun reminiscing.
Yeah,
I'm sorry
it went as long as it did. I was like, we'll have a 10-minute conversation, and now here we are 50 minutes later. But
Perfect.
If anyone wants to check out Zoe Wood's article, it's great too, because she also talks about Disneyland and Disney World, but that's available on www.info.com, and I will include a link in the description of this video. And we do ask that you please remember, when booking your next Disney vacation, that you consider using the experts over at Dreams Unlimited Travel. It won't cost you anything extra, and it does help support the show. So check them out. Make sure whatever they can help you out. Get you over to Disneyland. They book Disneyland, or get you on DCO, Disney World, wherever you want to go. They're going to help you get there. All right. In what was I going to say? In reason. But again, thank you for having this conversation. Thank you everyone out there for listening or watching. I guess you were listening to. And if you like this video, thumbs up. Leave us some comments from some of your favorite Disney memories or anything like that. I'd love to read them and reminisce with all of you as well. And we'll see you next time with another video. So thank you, everyone. Bye.